You are listening to Wicked Psychotherapists, a podcast where two psychotherapists show you that taking care of and learning about mental health doesn't have to be wicked hot.
Hey everyone, this is Tanya.
Hi, this is Erin, and welcome to Wicked Psychotherapists.
So today we have a really fun topic to talk about. It's an old classic movie. Well, I guess not really old to us, but old to maybe some people out there. We are going to be talking about Beetlejuice. So I just wanted to say it 3 times.
I know, I was just going to tell you, don't say it 3 times.
We got to be careful about it. But yeah, this is, because this is when you'll be hearing this, it'll be in October. It's got a very Halloween theme. And also it's exciting because by the time this is released, the sequel after like 36 years is going to be coming out I believe in September.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought this would be a fun time to talk about this. So yeah, we always have the psychological mental health themes that we're going to focus on. But of course, it's just a fun thing to talk about because how many times have you seen the movie?
Oh my gosh, probably more than 15.
Yeah, I would say same. Yeah, I can't even count. I mean, it's probably been like, 15, 20, 30. I don't even know because it used to just be on TV and I would just watch it from there, and then I actually went and watched it in a theater. Like one of my friends rented out, you can like rent out a theater and just have like people you invite to go and see the movie. And so we did that for Beetlejuice a few years back. But yeah, so this was always one of my favorites. I loved it. I think I saw this in the movie theater when it came out. I might be imagining that, but I definitely saw it again on the TV, like broadcasting it many times. But when I think of it, I think of Halloween. I get very nostalgic. I love the characters, the makeup, the actors, the plot. It's just so unique. Tim Burton, of course, is such a visionary. He's wild, and I just love the way his brain thinks. I think this was like his first full-length movie. I think I remember reading, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, I was always wondering if Edward Scissorhands came out before that, but I guess this came out before that, before Edward Scissorhands then.
This was 88. I don't know. I think it was after Edward Scissorhands. I think it is 1990. So yeah, it was a couple years after. And I love that Tim Burton, he has recurring themes and uses recurring actors like Johnny Depp and Winona Ryder. He's like a big fan of them and their kind of vibe, their gothic-y vibe, which I always loved. That was like, I had a huge crush on. Still sort of doing a little weirded out to say, but he's not in this movie. So I don't know.
No, he's not.
I'm just talking about Tim Burton, I guess. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of themes in here, right? With the family, with the house, with the demon itself, Beetlejuice, that I think we can explore. The first thing that comes to my mind when I'm just kind of thinking of the sequence of a movie is the couple that lives there, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. They're the Maitlands. That's their last name. Very much just a single couple, don't have a child, have this beautiful big house in New England. You see all these like New England shots, and I've actually seen the covered bridge that shows up in there was it in New Hampshire or Vermont? I don't remember, but I remember seeking it out and being like, oh my God, that's the bridge. Oh, okay. Or it looked like it. I don't know. It's got a lot of New England-y vibes, which we love. And there is this instant connection, I think, like psychologically with the Maitlands. Their house is very much an expression of themselves. They put a lot of time into it. They take a staycation to just like decorate their house. They're very into it. That's their sanctuary. That's what they really love. And I really like that aspect of it. So I think that's kind of sets us up for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
It's kind of psychologically like, okay, this is their safe haven. This is what they put their heart and soul into. This is their safe place. And then they unfortunately die in a car accident or like they go off the bridge that I was just talking about. And it's all because of a little doggy that they're trying to avoid hitting. But when they die, they go back to their house and they realize they're ghosts. And they're kind of weirded out, but they're also, maybe it isn't so bad if we have our home, right?
Yeah, we're here, we're together, nothing has changed. Yeah, and it feels safe for them at first.
Yeah, and it seems like there's kind of like a shift, right? There's kind of like a transition that they have no control over with the Dietzes that move in. And it becomes this new setting. They start ripping off all the wallpaper that they put up so carefully, and the house is like representative of like, this is their comfort, like New Englandy kind of countryside home. And all of a sudden they're realizing, oh my gosh, the Maitlands are saying we're going to have to spend eternity with these people who are very, typical, stereotypical, like New York, high fashion into art and, kind of pretentious and for show and things like that. So we see that kind of dynamic come in where they're basically like their comforts are being stripped away right in front of them and they can't do anything about it. So that was kind of, to me, like, I know this is like so like meta analyzation, but it kind of felt like when like transitions in our lives, when you kind of feel helpless and you can't really do much about it. And you just kind of feel like, okay, I don't know what it is that I can do to rectify this, but I have to somehow survive in this. And I know it's like a total meta analyzation, but it did kind of just come to me with that. I don't know. The house is very symbolic to me. But yeah, were you seeing any themes with like the house and then the move in with the Dietzes?
Yeah, I think having people moving into their house, I think it made them realize not only is this who I'm going to have to live with for all eternity, it kind of made them almost sad about their death, because before it was just like, all right, this is what happened and it's kind of scary. But then it was, wait a minute, we're kind of stuck here. And it probably felt a little more real and isolating and depressing for them too.
Yeah, for sure. And there is one saving grace, because there is the mother Delia, who's very pretentious. The dad, I don't remember his name, Charles, and he's just laid back and kind of gives in to the whims of Delia. And the daughter, Lydia, she is very much into like the undead and very gothic, wears like a black veil over her head. And she's, I love the quote that she says, like, I myself am the strange and unusual. Or she says something like, I think people tend to be afraid of the strange and unusual, but I myself am the strange and unusual. And I just love that.
Yeah.
So right there, we know like there might be a connection with the Maitlands. Like she's kind of open to that. She's not really into all this pretentious, like that Delia, her stepmother, is. So I think there's also themes of depression with Lydia.
Oh yeah, definitely.
She's definitely has like cries for help. And I think Delia, her stepmom, and her like unwitting dad, who kind of just goes along with her, are always trying to give off this image of like being a perfect family, like very successful. And that's just not how it is. And she's like, she says these things like, oh, like that are kind of cries for help, that are, depression wise. And so it's a little, that nothing's being done, or like her stepmother will be like, oh, quit being so dramatic, or like laugh, just enjoy the fresh air, it's pushed to the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause she does have some suicidal thoughts or talk, or she seems like she's in a state of depression, but it is dismissed because, oh, I have to remodel this home, or I have to let people know how successful I am. And if you're being this way or you're acting this way, it's just kind of a drag. And it's not really fitting the mold or who I'm trying to be or who I'm trying to represent.
Yeah, that persona of like the perfect family. It's kind of funny. It's ironic because Delia, the stepmother, her art is pretty horrendous and it's not very successful. And at one point she ends up getting like trapped by it, which is really like so symbolic of like she's getting trapped by her like
claw-like thing. Yeah.
But I liked that at this point. It's so funny because the name of the movie is Beetlejuice, and I think he's actually, the character Beetlejuice, Michael Keaton, is only on screen for like 17 minutes. And
of the whole movie? Or just really?
Yeah. Like it's only, that's what I was reading something saying that. I'm not completely positive, but he is actually not on screen very much if you think about this. Like,
well, if you think about it too, especially if you rewatch it 1,000 times, it's one of those things where you're like, oh wow, he's so cool or fun. And then you're like, oh my gosh, he's so crass and annoying. And I know they try to make him like that, but it's difficult sometimes to watch him. And maybe that's why he's only on it for 17 minutes, because you really start to really love Lydia and the other characters involved in the movie.
Yeah, maybe he's like too much that, yeah, they kind of, but I mean, it fills in the time of, it definitely doesn't seem like he's only on for 17 minutes, but yeah, he is a lot to take in. So Beetlejuice comes in when the Maitlands are like needing support. They're like so fed up. They're like, we need help. And they look at this handbook that they've been the handbook for the recently deceased that, and they end up like drawing a door. They go into this like magic world or like portal into a world where it's basically set up like a bureaucratic.
Yeah. DMV.
Kinda like DMV. Yeah. That's what it reminds me of. I always loved that part. And I do admit when I was younger, I did try to draw a door with chalk and knock on it and be like, is there something there? Like,
can I escape?
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of like fun. I was like, I just thought it was such a cool idea. Like, oh my God, draw a door. It's right.
Yeah. And then you have the person I always remember the one with or the guy, someone smoking. And it was just so disturbing. It's like nothing's left because the cancer is like destroyed.
Oh yeah, the like shrunken guy or whatever. Yeah, like he's smoking. He's like, I'm trying to cut down to like 100 pounds a day or something. And then like the lady that's cut in half and just all the characters there. And then the one that has the shrunken head. That's really, yeah. There's so many characters that you just associate immediately with and
you're like, oh my gosh, that's how they died. That's what happened. And then this couple so pure looking and just like just what did we get ourselves into?
Yeah, and they like have to take a number and then meet with their caseworker, like a social worker, like, and her name's Juno. And it's like almost like, this is how you are dead. There's rules to being dead. There's a way, there's a whole system, like a bureaucratic system. And it's so funny because that's how Beetlejuice comes into their life, where they're like, we have to wait this long and we can't really do anything. We don't have any power. And then they're like, let's look for alternatives. And they find, Beetlejuice has this ad that if you just say his name 3 times, he'll come out and exorcise the demons or, from the house. So he's definitely like a used car salesman, kind of type. He's really crass and dirty and gross. But they're desperate, the Maitlands. And so they kind of reach out for his help. And he just makes things worse. He ends up scaring the Dietzes, including Lydia. And it just is like a disaster.
Yeah. And then they end up, because Beetlejuice is so crass, like they end up becoming very paternal to Lydia too.
Yeah, like maternal and paternal. Yeah, they're kind of like very like they want to protect her. Yeah, and I mean it's almost like she is like that daughter that they never had, and she needs like a family who can see that she's in pain. And Barbara, I think it is Barbara, the Maitland, Gina Davis. She like recognizes that a lot, and so does Alec Baldwin. I can't remember his name. Yeah, but the other Maitland. Yeah, and I think it's interesting though that it's like almost like there's a commentary, I think, from Tim Burton. He does this in other movies where it's like the standardized bureaucratic way is like crap, but then you have this other option, and maybe that doesn't really work either, and you kind of have to find your own solution in life. And I think from reading some of Tim Burton's background, that kind of makes sense. I think he grew up in like a very conservative environment, if I'm not mistaken. And so I think he kind of has like this rebellious side against it, but he also realizes there's like practicality in between. Yeah. Sorting.
Almost like the old Grimm fairy tales too. Like remember like the Grimm fairy tales? It was like, this is kind of really a scary choice either way. It's not happy.
Like there's not really a happy ending. Yeah. I think for him, it was like just this like complexity of like, there's you kind of have to figure this out on your own, maybe. Yeah. And I think that's how he expressed that like frustration or like unknowing is in his movies. I don't know why I'm going into Tim Burton's mind, but he does fascinate me.
Yeah. He is very interesting.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely has a lot of my favorite movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think, and then they realize that that Beetlejuice is not their answer. They try to like put him back, but he's kind of been
He's out.
unleashed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out of his whatever. I don't know how he was like cursed. I think maybe Juno or something used to work with him, and then she like put him in I don't
That
know,
place. Yeah, somewhere.
shrunk him and made him powerless or something.
Yeah, don't say his name.
Yeah, like the and at one point Lydia is actually suicidal and writes a suicide note and wants to like, unknowingly like doesn't know that Beetlejuice caused wreaked all this havoc and tries to get his help, but she stopped. The Maitlands stop her before she says it like a third time. So there definitely is a lot of themes. I almost want to say like it's intergenerational, but it's like interdimensional kind of trauma, like there's like the ghosts that like, they're like, this is our homes being taken away from us, like our, like what we know. And then the Dietz is like needing to, trying to just be themselves and trying to be this image of themselves. And Lydia's just kind of stuck in the middle. Like, I just need someone to help me. I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And
But they're
there's
but it kind of is like, well, it does become kind of like different family relationships because at the end they all figure out how to live together. But Lydia's father, too, it seems like he's been trying to find himself, too. Like, it's like, I don't want all this modern art, or I don't really know who I am. I just want this normal section of this room of myself. So it just feels like a normal house. I want to keep this part how it was.
Yeah, he does like the study because it's implied he kind of had like a break, like a nervous break in the city, like he was working too hard and he kind of needs some air and like normalcy and like just kind of some calmness. And so, he decides to keep that part, like the study or whatever. Yeah, I really loved all the different, like, oh my God, the sandworms. The sandworms, when they like go outside, when they try to step outside the house, they get into like this other sandworm dimension. I never really understood that. Like, kind of like, is it just like a weird other dimension, or is there something?
I don't know. It's like maybe Tim Burton liked the movie Tremors. I don't know.
I think that was before Tremors, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know. It feels like Tremors. I
know.
mean, there's like 1,000 Tremors, so maybe I don't know. It just seems like.
I remember the one with Kevin Bacon. That's all.
He was. There was like 3 or 4 of them. I don't know if Kevin was in all of them though.
Let's see when Tremors. Oh, Tremors was 1990, first one.
So right about maybe he just felt maybe there's a sandworm theme in the late 80s.
Yeah, there was something going on with sandworms. I don't know. I feel like with Tim Burton, I don't know. I'm probably reading way too much into this. That there's like always a little bit of symbolism in there, and I don't know. I remember that always freaked me out. Like, oh my God, you go in there and then you just like, where do you go if it catches you in its mouth? Like, what's the other world you disappear to? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's kind of like nightmares and not like the unknown sort of, and that's kind of, I just think Tim Burton expresses that so well. But
yeah, it is. It's kind of like your dreams and your nightmares, reality, fantasy, life, death. It's all just
like Jung, like Carl Jung got a lot of those dreams and deaths.
It's like, and who's going to analyze it?
Yeah, that's like, that is really interesting. I do find that part really cool. Are there any visuals that stick out to you? I mean, amongst the many, but any ones that you like immediately think of when you think of Beetlejuice?
Well, I always you mentioned it, like when the artwork holds them in prison, that's, kind of interesting. Or of course the end with the dancing and that part whenever shake.
Oh yeah. And they're like dancing at it. Yeah, that is it's funny. It's such a contrast to like, it's like these tropical vibe song that it contrasts with the like peaceful New Englandy, like, I don't know, setting. And again, I think Tim Burton does that a lot.
Because it is totally, and also it's different than the entire movie.
Yeah.
So you're like, what? Oh, okay, so this is how it's ending. And this is how it is. And everyone's happy.
Yeah. And it seems like, kind of Lydia, they've come to some compromise at the end where Lydia, she comes home and the Maitlands are checking on her almost as if they're like parental figures, like, how'd you do on the test and blah, blah, blah. And then, she gets to like go up in the air if she did well or whatever and dance and experience some ghostly stuff. So it seems like, and they're also redecorating part of the house, like in their own style. So it seems like there was a compromise made with the house and with kind of co-parenting maybe like ish
Yeah.
situation.
The parents kind of accept Lydia's parents and, accept, that, okay, other people are living here with us.
Yeah, and like concede that they may need their own space, even though they're ghosts. It's kind of accepted, right? And I wonder if that's kind of a thing. I always like analyze down
Yeah.
to
So
even
maybe
that.
that is like the different generational, like you mentioned before, like, oh, well, maybe different dimensions. And maybe it is supposed to symbolize like multi generations living amongst the same roof, or how do you live when there are different groups of parents parenting the same child.
I could see that. I could also see it's like a different like types of people, like because in the 80s there was very much that go, you need to get to the top materialism and like the yuppies who were like very into, do you remember that term, the yuppies? Like the kind of, that, and I think it might be that the Maitlands were very simple and really liked to just kind of be, and the Dietzes were very kind of, like showy and kind of represented that, I don't know, I guess yuppie lifestyle of like, we need to have like the most modern stuff and the most expensive stuff, and maybe how they can kind of coexist, or maybe how it just would look in that
and also
world.
how deep down it's really not that different. You still want the same thing. You still want probably family and happiness and comfort, like as shown by the father.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe it's like just a connection there, because I know that is a big Tim Burton theme as well, too. He definitely has things about like conservatism and different kind of classes of people, like socioeconomic status and trends and stuff like that. So I think he definitely was making some sort of commentary. Like the Maitlands are very simple, very country, very kind of New England-y, but
yeah, just stereotypical plaid shirt, Volvo, whatever, just what you picture.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'm really curious about this sequel, and I'm wondering, because by the time this is released, some people may have seen it in the theaters or otherwise. And I'm curious, what do you think? What are some predictions that you have for the movie or something?
I don't know. I haven't seen too much, but I love that the cast. I love that Jennifer Ortega is the daughter, I believe, of Lydia. Is that what it is?
I think so. Yeah, I think Jenna Ortega is Lydia's daughter. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like.
So I think it should be really interesting. I'm not really sure. I guess, are they still in the same house? And it should be, I'm not really sure what exactly is supposed to happen. So I'm excited that there's going to be, we can see what's happened with the characters, and maybe Beetlejuice will have more than 17 minutes. I don't know. And
maybe he doesn't need to again. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe he'll have less.
I love that they're using some of the same actors, like Michael Keaton is going to be Beetlejuice, and Winona Ryder, of course. And I think what it is, I've seen a preview for this movie. There's been an official trailer released, and for the second Beetlejuice, and I know that it's like the father dies, and it looks like Lydia is kind of like off in her own life, and she's going back to the house to settle affairs, or I don't know if it was given to her. It's one of those things. So that's the kind of return to the house.
Okay.
And then of course there's going to probably, like, Jenna Ortega is probably, they're her daughter. I don't know her name, but in the movie, but she'll probably be curious about this demon that maybe Lydia will tell her about or something, or maybe she finds out somehow. And then Beetlejuice will make a reappearance.
Yeah. And is the family still in the attic? And
I know. And I wonder I wonder how they're going to explain that, because I don't think Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin's been having his own issues. So I don't think that either one of them are in it. So there's probably going to be some explanation, maybe.
Yeah. And then you'd also have to explain, I didn't know ghosts could age.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Unless they have some great makeup there. I don't know. Yeah.
CGI or whatever. Yeah. That's probably why they're not coming back, because you would expect them to still look the same.
Well, I think it might be that, or it might just be like, maybe that just is not the storyline. Maybe they just like, they move on to like, maybe that was like their kind of spot for now. And then they move on to like another afterlife. I actually, that was what I was curious about when I saw it, because it didn't address that. And
that might be brought up in the first little bit. Like, hey, you know what? This was their purgatory. And now they're or like wherever the bureaucratic
society sends them, whatever it is. But I'm really looking forward to see if there's any like new creative monsters or like, kind of visuals and things that really stick with you with Tim Burton. He's so creative with that. I'm really looking forward to that. That's something I want to
Yeah, he is.
see.
He's
Yeah, he for sure is. He's got quite the imagination. I really admire him.
And it will be interesting too with the second movie, if the stepmother is still alive and still there, how that dynamic has changed. Then if Lydia and her daughter, so then there's 3 women, like if they're going to address the relationship with mothers and daughters too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I do believe she is in it. I can't remember her name in real life, but she's was on Home Alone, Schitt's Creek, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
She's been
She was in Nightmare Before Christmas. Yeah. She's
a big,
but
star.
That could be a good psychological component too, of like how that's addressed. How, then if the stepmother is grieving, how, grieving your father who died, grieving your husband, that's going to probably be spoken about or a theme as well.
I also think revisiting old demons, like literally and figuratively, right? With Lydia, that may be like a time when she was very depressed. And I'm guessing she's probably, worked through some of that stuff. I don't know, maybe it's still there, but to see how that is revisiting a place where she had depression and she was dealing with her stepmother and the fact that she just didn't feel like anybody saw her and going back into that environment and how that'll be too. So
and sometimes
I'm interested in that for sure.
Yeah, remembering who you were as a teenager and bringing up that state of sadness or depression can be really hard, because sometimes as adults we try to push it away and it's like, okay, that was who I was then, but then going back and just, oh wait, I'm at that physical spot, this person or this demon or this entity is reminding me who I was, and all that come back, that can be difficult.
Yeah. And I wonder if like the demon, like Beetlejuice, is a reminder of like those demons, like those psychological demons, I'm probably overreaching, but that's just in my mind. That's what I think of it as. I also wonder, has Beetlejuice changed? Probably not, but
has he had lessons learned? Well, I mean, they left it at the end of Beetlejuice. He had his head shrunk. Remember when he was in the waiting room?
Yeah, that's right. He got eaten by the sandworm or whatever too, right? And then he ended up in he was in the bureaucratic system.
and he was like doing something with the person I don't remember why, but
he stole his number in line.
That's right. And then he got his head shrunk.
Yeah, he was like, just did that. He's like,
yeah. So I'm sure that's been rectified. I'm sure his head's back to normal, but
I mean, we never know, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't seem like someone that would have learned any real lessons.
No. And Beetlejuice himself, just psychologically, is just kind of like pure self-centeredness, narcissism, like kind of psychopath, right? Like he's just out for his own interest. He doesn't think about anyone but himself. Yeah. He's just trying to get what
his wants, needs, his enjoyment, what is fun for him, trying to take other people down with him and not caring how it might hurt them just for your own enjoyment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. It shows up and he like always promotes himself as like a helper, and then when he gets out, he just gets what he wants and just does what he does. So yeah, he's very much
hedonistic and
But, I do think this movie is such a classic. I think it endures with so many people, so many generations. I think that's why they're able to make a second one, because it's not only like our generation and people that have seen it around that time, but I think even younger generations really like it as well.
Yeah,
too.
It's definitely a cult classic. I mean, I think, everyone, even if you don't love Beetlejuice the character, there's something about the movie that draws people back to it. Like we both have said, like we've seen it so many times. Like there's just different, and it's one of those movies too that each time you see it, you're probably seeing something different or you're thinking of a different part. Because I know when I first saw it as a teen, I really was like, oh gosh, I really love Lydia. I love her hairstyle. I love her. And then probably as you watch it again, it's like, yeah, I still love her, but I can understand how the couple who died, how they feel. Then it's like, oh, wait, now I understand how the stepmother probably felt. She probably felt like, okay, I have to be so over the top because I'm being introduced to this family that was already established, this daughter and father. And, so each
you
person
gain
is
an
so
empathy.
complex. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that's so true about a lot of movies when you revisit them at different phases of your life in different ages and decades. You're going to see something different and you're going to start to understand, but probably reflective of your own experiences and just life experience and wisdom. But it is interesting to watch these movies where when I was a kid, I just thought, oh, this is just like, I really didn't see, I just thought it was goofy and I just thought it was kind of cool and, weird. And I like that. And then I started to kind of realize like, oh, there's some themes in here. After a while, I mean, I really didn't realize it for a while. So yeah, it took me a bit, but yeah, there really is a lot to learn from the different perspectives and different family members and seeing and understanding where everyone's coming from. And if you're into, analyzing that, some people just like it as a fun movie, right?
Yeah,
Because it is
it's
just
fun. It has fun music. It's silly. There's demons. It's scary. It's funny.
Yeah, it's like
artistic,
visually pretty stunning, especially for 1988. It was like, I think it won an award for the makeup or the costumes or something. So it was like, it was really well done. And I'm excited to see that too, like what the cost or the dress and the, kind of things for the characters, what they're going to look like or be like. Is Lydia still kind of gothic-y or is she out of that kind of thing? I don't know. I'm curious about it.
Yeah, I doubt she's wearing pink, but it'll be interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, I think that with that, what this is one of the movies that I will watch every year around Halloween, maybe even before. I think I actually watched it already this year, but I, of course, like to watch it around Halloween. It just reminds me of like that spooky, weird, creative, I don't know, oddball vibe. And like there's the undead, there's the monsters, the characters, the things that you just, always find comfort in. I do the New England scenes too. I really like that because, it's very kind of, I don't know, it's just comforting. But yeah, so I think that's what makes it a cult classic, like to me. And I think obviously a lot of other people think so too.
Yeah.
Do we have anything else we want to add in here? I think that was a nice cult classic that we were able to discuss. That's
I think relevant. So. I mean, I think and it's like we'll be releasing this around Halloween. So
yeah,
maybe
right around the time with the sequel too.
Maybe this will encourage people to dress up like Lydia or Beetlejuice for Halloween.
Yeah. Although I don't know if Beetlejuice would be politically correct now.
No.
And I understand why, because he's kind of like a pervert and kind of wants to marry a young girl.
I'm like curious what I'm like, oh yeah, I guess people don't like perverts.
Yeah, they might be like, but I don't know, maybe that's not the take on him.
I don't know.
Or they just recognize it was
I don't know. Yeah. Or maybe because he was undead, he never really was part, maybe people never thought of that.
That's true. He's just
creepy. He's just creepy. He's just creepy no matter what because he's gross.
That's true. Yeah. There's a lot to think of. And I definitely do want to, I may not go to the theaters to see it because I think I'm actually going on a trip. I'll be on a trip the day it's released, or I'll be somewhere the day it's released, but I do intend to watch it somehow. So I definitely want to. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know when it's released, but yeah, I'll probably end up watching it at home or something.
Yeah, but definitely going to watch the first one and then gear up for that and then somehow find that. There's another sequel that's coming out that I'm kind of excited about too. Like, or there's just some stuff coming out. Like Wednesday is coming out with a new season. If you're
really good.
Jenna Ortega.
I've been worried that wasn't going to come back. I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, I hope that.
No, they're working on one, and so Stranger Things.
Yeah,
what it's called. That's like that one took a while to come out, but this is the last season. That one is like in the works. It'll be out probably the next couple months, I think. But yeah, I kind of got out of that, but I used to really.
Yeah, I think because I was so hyped up, I was like, I'm not going to watch this anymore. Yeah, I get like that. I don't know what's wrong with my brain, but if it's something super popular, a lot of times I just don't. I get disinterested.
Me too. I usually do too, but for some reason I hopped on this trend and I really did like it, but then I kind of got out of it because there was a long break between, I mean, just probably COVID related or whatever it was. I don't know.
Yeah, or
Something.
strike related or something.
Strike. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah. But that's exciting. There's a lot of fall spookiness coming up or is
Mhm.
already here when we release this.
Yeah.
So I am super, super excited for a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I think you all should, if you have not seen the original Beetlejuice, go watch it. If it's
Mhm.
not your cup of tea, you're probably not listening to this. Or maybe you are, I don't know, but
I don't know.
check out the second one. We have no affiliation with them. It's just we think it'll be interesting and
Yeah.
we'll probably talk about it somewhere down the road, right?
Yeah. We like Tim Burton,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Tim Burton is great. But yeah, so we hope you enjoyed this talk of the classic Beetlejuice and hope it is, a good reminder to, watch this during the spooky season if you need a reminder and to catch the sequel.
Yep. And
Yeah.
don't say it 3 times. You could say Beetlejuice.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful with that. I don't know if that maybe, who knows, maybe that will have changed too, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think. Anything we missed, anything that you'd like us to touch on more. We always love any type of feedback, suggestions. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Wicked Psychotherapists. On Facebook, we are The Wicked Psychotherapists. Subscribe, follow, write us a review with 5 stars. That's
Mhm.
always something great. If you are not thinking 5 stars, maybe just, kind of check out some other episodes before
Yeah.
doing that. Or
Listen to every single one first.
yeah. And then if you're still not convinced, well, then, you can just send us a message or something. Yeah. About some suggestions. But
Still follow us because that helps too.
yeah. Yeah, that's always good. But we appreciate anything. So thanks so much for listening. And don't forget, stay wicked.
And keep your mind well. All right. Well, have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. Take care.